ABC News, and before that, WCBS TV. When I moved to New York for the job, I was told I had to join a union, AFTRA, the American Federation of TV and Radio Artists. What? I said, I don't want to join a union. I'm not an artist. I don't want to pay dues. But I had to, I was told. New York's a forced union state. About half the states are. That means if a majority of workers in your area vote to form a union, everyone must pay the union. So I did for 36 years, but no more. Now I'm at Fox, which is non-union. And I think it's great that there's now a trend away from forced unionization. Indiana and Michigan recently passed right-to-work laws, which say workers cannot be forced to pay union dues. They joined 24 states that already had such laws. Great. But no, that's terrible, says David Madland of the American Worker Project at the Center for American Progress, America's biggest progressive think tank. So, David, why am I wrong?
Well, you're wrong for a couple of reasons. First, you can never be forced to join a union. You can be required to pay union dues that cover the costs of, for example, representing you and bargaining for your contract. But the bigger and more important reason is that unions make the middle class. They help make the middle class stronger, and without unions, you really are undercutting the middle class.
But where's the evidence that the union makes the middle class stronger? Henry Ford doubled auto workers' wages and shortened the workday years before the UAW even existed.
Well, I think the best evidence, you can look at the U.S. over time. When unions were at their strongest, 50s, 60s, 70s, the middle class was at its strongest. As unions have declined in power over the past 30 years, the middle class has significantly weakened.
We have a chart looking at unemployment in America, and it goes up and down. And there was the lowest unemployment in the 20s, before there were unions.
Unionization can be high when you have high unemployment and vice versa. The key thing to know here is that what unions do is they help give workers some basic bargaining power in the relationship so that workers can join together and negotiate with their boss on more relatively equal footing. That gives them the ability to get a larger pay checks and things like benefits like health care and retirement.
That's great if I want to have this union bargain for me. But what if I think that they do a bad job? What if I can negotiate higher pay directly myself because I work harder than the other guys in my union? And then I have an incentive to work harder.
Well, if you don't like the union, you can vote to reject their contract, vote to even decertify the union. That means get rid of the union. You also can work for a different employer. You have lots of choices, but when you work for an employer, for example, they have requirements. They often require you to wear a particular uniform, or they can monitor your keystrokes on a computer. When you work for an employer, there are certain obligations that often come with that. And if you happen to work for a unionized employer, one of those obligations is to pay for the cost of representation.
Says the law in about half the states, but the employer may not want that. The worker may not want it. What if the union negotiates stupid work rules? I mean, at WCBS, where I used to work, the union editors were always saying it can't be done. You can't touch that tape machine. Sometimes it took them 5 minutes to get out of the car to go shoot something. It sucks the incentive out of people.
Well, look. Unions, like any other democratic organization, sometimes do things that people don't think are in the interest of society. That sometimes happens. That said, what unions do as a whole is they give power to workers to negotiate on relatively equal footing with their employers. That enables them to get a relatively fair bargain. Without that, we see that they get much lower wages, less benefits. What our economy needs at this moment is workers to have purchasing power to spend on goods and services that drive our economy. And really, that's what's been happening for much of recent years, is that there's not enough purchasing power. Workers are not earning enough money.
Unions raise wages for some people, but others become unemployed because of the union, I think. Toyota paid $48 an hour, created jobs in America. GM was paying $73. They lost 30,000 jobs. So you help a few, you hurt more because those companies don't grow.
Well, no, actually, what the studies show is that unionization raises workers not just for workers who are members of unions, but for the broader middle class, because other employers feel they need to compete and raise their wages on that level. So it has much broader spillover effects throughout the economy. Studies estimate
but bad spillover effects. Right to work states do better.
No, they don't. No, the highest
Yes,
unemployment
they do.
rate, the highest unemployment in the country right now is a right-to-work state. Third highest unemployment rate is also right-to-work. Fifth highest is also right-to-work.
Well,
they
some
have very
southern states have been poor for a long time, and over the past 10 years, employment in right-to-work states increased by more than 5%. In union states, it fell.
No, in the best studies, any study that really compares right to work, that actually controls for other factors that are likely to lead to job growth, show that right to work has no effect on employment. In Oklahoma, they found absolutely no effect on employment. And in fact, manufacturing employment, the kind of employment that right to work is supposed to help, decrease after Oklahoma went right to work. It's not saying that right to work was the factor why it decreased. It's just there are larger global forces here. And the reason that companies choose to locate in a state are based on the education levels of workers in the state. They're based on the quality of infrastructure. Can they get goods and services to and from? And also, is there demand for their product? And that's really what's core here, is that what unions do is they help workers get better wages and benefits. That creates demand, and that's what we need in the economy right now.
Well, thank you, David Madlin. We agree to disagree. Up next.